Today I will discuss about the skeletal system. So at first we have to know what is skeletal system. Skeletal system is the hard parts of the animal body. And two types of skeletal system we will get. That is exoskeleton and endoskeleton. This exoskeleton consists of hard parts present on the surface of the body, and it is formed of dead tissues. This exoskeleton is formed of dead tissues. In fishes, what are the exoskeleton present? That is the dermal scales on the skin. In reptiles, epidermal scales, belly plates, etc. In birds, feathers, scales, claws, these are the exoskeleton. And in mammals, hair, nails, claws, horns and hooves. And in human, we know that hair and nails are present. So that is under the exoskeleton made up of dead tissues. Now the endoskeleton. This endoskeleton includes hard parts present inside the body. Exoskeleton outside the body, endoskeleton inside the body. And the cartilage and bones. These forms the endoskeletal structures in vertebrates. Now I will discuss about human endoskeleton. Human skeleton consists of 206 bones, and the size of the bone varies, ranging from the tiny bony ossicles that is present in the middle ear and to the long thigh bones, or it is also called femur. So this varies, the size of the bones varies. The endoskeleton is divided into two main parts. Number 1, axial skeleton. Number 2, appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton occupies the longitudinal central axis of the body. It includes skull, vertebral column and thorax. And the second part, that is the appendicular skeleton, that includes the bones of the limbs and the girdles, that I will discuss later on. Now about the skull. So skull consists of 29 bones. Total it has 29 bones. And these bones are the hardest bones in the human body. Now what are the bones under the skull? That is cranial region, it has 8 bones. Facial region, 14 bones. Ear ossicles, means the small bones present inside the ear, 6 bones, 3 in each, and hyoid, that is 1. So total 29 bones are there in skull. Now this is the figure of human skeleton. Okay. So 3 parts are there under the axial skeleton: skull, vertebrae and thorax. Thorax means this ribs and the sternum. So these 3, skull, vertebral column and thorax, these 3 are under the axial skeleton. And these girdles and the limbs, these are under the second part, that is the appendicular skeleton. Now the second part of the axial skeleton is the vertebral column. This vertebral column is a curved rod-like structure. It is about almost 70 cm long and located in the mid-dorsal line of the neck and trunk. And it provides the axial flexibility formed of small ring-shaped bony pieces. This vertebral column is made up of small pieces of bones, which is called vertebrae. Now, what are the bones are there in vertebral column? Cervical region, 7 bones. thoracic region 12 bones, lumbar region 5, sacral region 1. Here 5 bones are fused and forming a single bone. And again caudal region 1 bone. Here also 4 bones are fused and forming a single bone. So total in vertebral column there are 26 bones. Now the third part, that is the thorax. It has 25 bones. Sternum 1 and ribs 24 in total. We will get 25 bones. So this sternum, this is the long, narrow, flat bone. Actually it forms the floor of the rib cage and supports the anterior part of the chest, this sternum and the ribs. So here 12 pairs of ribs, means 24 ribs are there, which along with the thoracic vertebrae, this vertebrae and the sternum, that is the breastbone, constitute the bony cage-like structure, that is the rib cage. So these two are under the thorax. Now I will discuss about the skull. So within the skull, the first part I will discuss, that is the cranium. What is this cranium? Is the large, hollow, rounded part of the skull. And within this part, there is a cavity called cranial cavity, which encloses, that means protects the brain inside. Okay, here. Inside it, the brain is present. So, for that it is also called brain box. Now, this cranium is made up of 8 bones. Frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, sphenoid and ethmoid. Parietal, 2 bones. Temporal, 2 bones, occipital, 1 bone, sphenoid, 1 bone and ethmoid, 1 bone. So, there are total 8 bones in skull. You can see some zigzag lines present on the cranium. These are the immovable joints called the sutures, by which these cranial bones are joined together. All these bones are joined together and forming the cranium. This base of the skull, there is a big hole called foramen magnum. Through this foramen magnum, the brain, here the brain is present inside the skull. So this brain is joined to the spinal cord located in the backbone. Within this backbone, the spinal cord is present. So that is joined with the brain through this foramen magnum. Now the facial bones. This facial bones comprises of 14 bones. Among this, it is divided into 2 parts, upper jaw and the lower jaw. Upper jaw is made up of 13 bones, means 6 pair of bones are there, and in lower jaw only 1 bone. So in this upper jaw part, first 1 pair of maxilla, that is the upper jaw. Here these bones are present. So 1 pair of maxilla, 1 pair of palatine, 1 pair of zygomatic and 1 pair of nasal bones are present. So up to this it was 4 pairs of bones. Now the 5th pair, that is the inferior concave, 1 pair. Then the lacrimal, 1 pair, and vomer, this is the single bone. So here we are getting 6 pairs of bone and a single vomer. So total 13 bones are there in the upper jaw. And lower jaw, it is made up of only a single bone, that is the mandible. I have discussed about the cranial region bones, facial region bones, the names of the bones. Now the third one, that is the ear ossicles. Now in this ear ossicles, I told that 6 bones are there. So in the right ear 3 bones and in the left ear, middle ear 3 bones. So total 6 bones in 2 ears are present. I have written the names of the cranial region bones. 8 bones names are written here. What I have discussed. Facial region bones, 14 bones are there. Upper jaw bones, what are the names I have written here, and lower jaw, in lower jaw only mandible. So total 14 bones are there in the facial region. So these are the names. Under this ear ossicles, 6 bones are there. So malleus, incus and steps. So 2 malleus, 2 incus, 2 steps, 1 in each ear. So total 3 in each, total into 6 bones are present. Now about the second part of the endoskeleton, that is the vertebral column. So the vertebral column is made up of many bone segments. Each of it is called the vertebrae. Okay, already I have discussed about this a little bit. So now here is the structure of the vertebral column through which the spinal cord is passing. Okay, see, this is the spinal cord. From here it is shown. So through this vertebral column the spinal cord is passing and reaching to the brain. This vertebral column, it is divided into 5 parts. First one is the cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, sacrum and coccyx. These names I have discussed. Now in the figure you see. So 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae, from here to here 12 vertebrae are there. Now the lumbar vertebrae 5. Next is the sacrum, that is the fused vertebrae. 5 vertebrae is fused here and forming the sacrum. And last one is the coccyx, where again 4 vertebrae are fused. So some common structures that we get in this vertebrae are centrum, neural cavity, neural spine, transverse process, etc. So now in this figure you see, this is the transverse process. This is the neural canal that is enclosed by this neural arc, and this is the neural spine. So here also the same structures are present: neural spine, neural arc, the neural canal and the transverse process. So these two are the first vertebrae, that is atlas and axis of the cervical vertebrae. This neural arc is also carrying a structure that is called articular facets. One in front and another one is the behind on either side. This articular facet actually helps in the joining of 2 vertebrae, one behind the other. Now about the thoracic vertebrae. So this is the structure of a thoracic vertebrae. That in these vertebrae, they have long neural spines which are directed backward, and each of their transverse process bears on its extremity a facet for the articulation with the tubercle of the rib. Is the structure of lumbar vertebrae. They have well-developed neural spines and transverse processes which serve for the attachment of powerful back muscles, and these lumbar vertebrae are the largest vertebrae. This is the structure of sacral vertebrae. They are actually 5, but in adult they are fused to form a single bone called sacrum. And the last part of the vertebral column, that is the caudal vertebrae, or it is also called the coccyx. So it is a small bony piece showing 4 rudimentary tail vertebrae fused together. Up to this we have discussed about skull. Next, the vertebral column. Now I am going to discuss about the third part of the axial skeleton, that is the thorax. So this thorax, there two types of bones are present. One is the sternum and the rib cage. Sternum is a long, narrow, flat bone and it forms the floor of rib cage and supports anterior part of the chest. Ribs are the curved bones. These movably articulate with the thoracic vertebrae at the back and with the sternum in the front, and all forming a bony rib cage. There are 3 types of ribs, and on the basis of the attachment to the sternum, there are 3 types of ribs: true ribs, false ribs, and floating ribs. So here 12 pairs of ribs are present, that is divided into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First 7 pair are the true ribs and which are directly attached to the sternum. Up to this 7 pairs directly attached to the sternum. Next is the false rib, that is 8th, 9th and 10th. These 8th, 9th and 10th, these 3 bones are attaching to the 7th bone, 7 pair of bones. So these are 3 pairs are the false ribs. And the last 2 pairs, one pair is here. In this picture you can see the last 2 pairs, 11th and 12th. These 2 pairs are the floating ribs, that is not attached to the sternum. Here you can see one pair is shown and another pair, here 2 pairs are shown. Okay, so these last 2 pairs are not attaching to any bone in the front side. These are the floating ribs and this is forming the rib cage which is protecting lungs, heart and large blood vessels. Last 2 pairs, these 2 pairs are protecting the kidney that is present at the back side. Second part of the skeleton, that is the appendicular skeleton. So appendicular skeleton is divided into 2 parts, upper region and the lower region. Upper region is made up of pectoral girdle and forelimb, and the lower region consists pelvic girdle and hind limb. So this pectoral girdle is made up of scapula and clavicles, 2 scapula, 2 clavicles, and forelimb there are humerus, radius ulna, carpals, metacarpals and phalanges. The numbers are given here. So total in one forelimb we are getting 30 bones. So we have 2 forelimbs. So 30 into 2, total 60 bones are there in the forelimb. Now the lower region, that is made up of pelvic girdle and hind limb. That pelvic girdle is made up of 2 bones and hind limb. The bones are femur 1, patella 1, tibia fibula 2, tarsals 7 bones, metatarsals 5 bones and phalanges 14 bones. So total again in one hind limb we are getting 30 bones. So we have 2 hind limbs, 30 into 2, total 60 bones are there. Already I told that the pectoral girdle consists of 2 distinct halves. One is the scapula and second one is the clavicle. So this scapula is the flat triangular bone located at the back of the thorax and it is attached to the vertebral column and ribs by means of the muscles. Okay, at its apex there is a concave glenoid cavity which actually articulates with the head of the humerus. The scapula is produced above the glenoid cavity, and this is the clavicle, or it is also called collarbone. Is a rod-shaped bone extending between the neck and the shoulder. So now about the bones of the forelimbs or the arm. So each arm has 30 bones. These are humerus in the upper arm, radius and ulna in the forearm. Now here is the structure coming, that is 8 carpal. Here you see these 8 are the carpal, 5 metacarpal, these 5 metacarpals in the palm. Next 14 phalanges in the fingers. Now about the lower region of the appendicular skeleton, that is the pelvic girdle. So this pelvic girdle is located in the lower part of the trunk. It consists of 2 halves, each half comprising 3 bones, ilium, ischium and pubis. So these are the 3 bones of pelvic girdle. Now at the junction of these 3 bones is present a depression. It is shown here, blue line. So this depression is known as acetabulum, which articulates with the head of the femur, that is the thigh bone. This is the structure of the lower region, that is the pelvic girdle connected with the hind limb. So what are the bones present in this hind limb? Already I told the names. Now how they are present, that you see. First one is the femur, tibia, fibula, then this part enlarged here. This hind limb also has 30 bones, and femur is the longest, heaviest and strongest bone of the body. Now this region there are 7 bones, tarsal bones. Here this is the metatarsal, where 5 bones are present, and this region is the phalanges, where 14 bones are present. So in total in this hind limb we get 30 bones. So in 2 hind limbs, 30 into 2, total 60 bones are present.